Hey, perceptive Scorpio, pay attention to what August 19 and 20, 2026 may bring to the surface, because this two-day window can be approached as a quieter kind of turning point, one that begins beneath what you can immediately explain. You may already sense that something has shifted even if nothing dramatic has happened externally, perhaps through unusual restlessness, a stronger instinct, a recurring thought, or the feeling that you can no longer relate to a situation in quite the same way. Sometimes you recognize a change emotionally before you can give it a name, and that subtle recognition may be where this reading begins. If you are here listening now, allow yourself to slow down enough to notice what your inner world has been trying to tell you. Rather than searching immediately for an event that must happen, turn toward the feelings, memories, questions, and instincts gathering beneath the surface. Scorpio, you're often willing to look beneath appearances, but that depth can also make uncertainty compelling, because you may want to understand the entire truth before deciding how you feel. Yet transformation does not always announce itself clearly. Sometimes it begins with the uncomfortable realization that something you once accepted no longer fits the person you are becoming. As August 19 and 20 unfold, consider this an invitation to become more conscious rather than more fearful, and more observant rather than reactive. There may be something asking to be understood before it is changed, something that needs your honest attention before you decide whether it still belongs in your life. Imagine standing at the entrance of a room you have avoided, knowing that whatever waits inside may become less frightening once you are willing to see it clearly. You are not powerless there, Scorpio, because awareness gives you a choice about what happens next. Astrology, spiritual reflection, and tarot can offer symbols for examining your experience, but they should never replace your own judgment. You remain the person deciding what resonates, what deserves reflection, and what does not belong to your story. If something in this reading does not reflect your reality, you do not have to force it into place. But if an idea creates that quiet recognition inside you, give yourself permission to explore it rather than pushing it away. As we move through August 19 and 20, we will look at love, money, health, work, and the people closest to you. Before turning outward, though, there is something important to understand about your emotional boundaries. Scorpio, caring deeply does not mean allowing everyone into the deepest parts of your inner world, and protecting yourself does not require closing every door. There is a difference between having compassion for someone and becoming so entangled with their fears, conflicts, or expectations that you can no longer tell where their experience ends and yours begins. Your inner life is not an endless reservoir for everyone else to draw from. When you absorb other people's tension, replay conversations long after they are over, or keep trying to solve problems that were never yours, your own clarity can slowly become clouded. You may simply begin to feel heavier, distracted, less present, or strangely exhausted after interactions that once seemed manageable. August 19 and 20 invite you to notice where your energy is going and ask whether you are protecting something meaningful or maintaining a connection because letting go of control feels uncomfortable. You may also notice that your dreams become especially interesting during this reflective period. Perhaps you wake from a vivid dream carrying an emotion that stays with you after the details disappear, or a memory surfaces during sleep that you had not consciously considered in years. You do not have to treat every dream as a supernatural message. Instead, notice the emotional residue. What did the dream make you feel? What remained with you, and what part of your waking life carries a similar emotional charge? Those questions can be revealing because the mind sometimes continues processing experiences after conscious attention has moved elsewhere. A dream may bring forward grief, longing, fear, desire, resentment, or a possibility you have been reluctant to acknowledge. For you, Scorpio, the value may be less about decoding every symbol and more about becoming curious about the feeling beneath it. Sometimes the most useful truth is not hidden inside the image itself, but inside what remains with you after the image fades. At the same time, if your surroundings have recently felt chaotic or anxiety has been disturbing your normal rhythm, you do not need to deliberately place yourself in situations that intensify that state. There is wisdom in stepping away from unnecessary emotional noise and returning to environments where your nervous system can settle. Nature may help. Quiet music, reading, or time alone may help as well. Solitude does not have to mean isolation. Sometimes it is simply the quiet space where you can hear your own thoughts again, without everyone else's emotions layered over them. Your private, inner space is not an escape from life. It is where you regain enough clarity to meet life without reacting from exhaustion or emotional overload. You may also notice subtle changes in how you experience your body or how you see yourself physically, perhaps becoming more aware of how stress has affected your posture, sleep, energy, or habits. Rather than judging those changes, let them become information about how you've been living. Your body can sometimes reveal what your mind has been postponing. That does not mean every physical sensation carries a hidden message, but it can be worthwhile to ask whether your routines, rest, nourishment, movement, and emotional habits are supporting the life you want. Where has your life become uneven? Where are you giving so much attention to one responsibility that another part of you has been left waiting? That question becomes especially important when you look at your professional world, because Scorpio energy can become intensely focused once something matters to you. You can devote yourself completely to a goal, investigate every detail, and keep going long after others would have stepped away. That determination is an asset, but ask yourself whether you are directing your power consciously or using control to avoid the uncertainty of not knowing what comes next. You may become absorbed in one project, conflict, ambition, or problem, while another responsibility remains unresolved in the background. August 19 and 20 can remind you to step back far enough to see the whole structure of your working life instead of allowing one demanding issue to consume everything else. There may be a project, business idea, professional decision, or responsibility that has remained unfinished longer than you would like to admit. Perhaps you began with excitement and lost momentum, or reached a difficult stage and decided that returning later would be easier. Unfinished work can continue consuming mental space even when it produces little progress, sometimes draining money, time, or confidence. If something like this exists in your life, the message is not to punish yourself for leaving it unfinished. It is to become honest about what still requires a decision. Ask yourself what remains undone and what step you already know is necessary. The obstacle may not be a lack of ability. It may be the emotional discomfort of reopening something you hoped you had already moved beyond. You may tell yourself you will handle it eventually, but unresolved matters can quietly shape your choices from the background. This period asks you to look directly at that pattern and decide whether you are ready to complete, repair, release, or consciously redirect what has been taking up your attention. The same principle applies to your health. There may be an appointment, checkup, conversation with a qualified professional, or simple act of self-care that you have postponed because other responsibilities keep appearing first. It is easy to tell yourself that you will make time once life becomes calmer, but your well-being should not always have to wait for everything else to become perfectly organized. Small concerns are generally easier to address when you are willing to notice them early, rather than allowing avoidance to make them more complicated. Give your health the consideration it deserves, and listen carefully to persistent signals without turning every sensation into a prediction. Your body is part of the life you are trying to build, not an inconvenience to manage after everything else is finished. If something concerns you, seek appropriate medical guidance rather than relying on a spiritual reading to answer a health question. There is strength in paying attention while the quiet concern is still asking gently for your care. Now, when we move toward love and relationships, the emotional landscape becomes even more intimate. Scorpio, depth matters to you, but true intimacy is not created simply by feeling everything intensely or sensing what another person may be hiding. It grows when two people can be honest enough to let themselves be seen, including the parts that are vulnerable, uncertain, imperfect, or still healing. Sometimes the strongest connection is not the most intense one, but the one where neither person has to remain guarded in order to feel safe. If you are in a relationship, consider whether you have allowed your partner to understand what is really happening inside you. You may be skilled at observing another person's moods while keeping your own feelings protected, especially when you are unsure how they will respond. But closeness requires more than understanding someone from a distance. It also asks you to reveal yourself. A sincere conversation, An honest admission or a simple expression of appreciation can change the emotional atmosphere when both people are willing to meet without defenses. Do not confuse vulnerability with weakness. Being emotionally open does not mean surrendering your boundaries. It means choosing where honesty can create deeper trust instead of allowing silence to become a permanent shield. If distance has developed between you and someone you love, ask whether it is healthy space or a wall. Feelings left unspoken can become assumptions, and assumptions can create stories neither person intended to live inside. If you are single, there may be room for an unexpected romantic development or a connection that catches your attention. Someone may express interest, reveal feelings, or enter your awareness in a way that feels different from what you have experienced recently. If that happens, you do not need to decide immediately what it means. Let the connection reveal itself through time, consistency, honesty, and mutual effort, rather than allowing intensity alone to convince you that something must be significant. You may naturally be drawn to depth, but depth and emotional intensity are not always the same. Chemistry can be powerful while compatibility remains uncertain, and mystery can feel exciting without creating trust. Let yourself receive appreciation without questioning every motive, while still allowing discernment to remain present. The healthiest opening is neither blind trust nor complete suspicion. It is staying present long enough for someone's actions to show you who they are. Now we move toward money, an area where the Scorpio perspective can become more psychological than simply asking whether more money is coming. Financial security may represent freedom, independence, safety, power, or the ability to make choices without depending on someone else. Those meanings influence how you earn, save, spend, share, and protect your resources. If you have been working towards stability, recognize the effort you have already invested, but also ask what security truly means to you when nobody else is watching. Are you building financial independence, or using money to create control over uncertainty? Are you holding on to something because it genuinely supports your future, or because losing it feels unbearable? In relationships, are there financial arrangements or shared responsibilities that need greater honesty and clearer boundaries? These questions do not predict a specific financial outcome, but they can reveal the values shaping your decisions and the security you are truly trying to create. Before moving further into the tarot symbolism connected with August 19 and 20, notice what has already stirred inside you. If something here resonates, you do not need to rush past that feeling or immediately turn it into an answer. Simply recognize it. Awareness often begins when you stop arguing with what you already know somewhere inside yourself. Symbolism is most useful when it helps you think more clearly, rather than replacing your own judgment. Beyond money, relationships, work, and visible circumstances, a deeper process is unfolding in the way you understand yourself. You may be reaching a point where looking only at what happened is no longer enough. You may also want to understand why certain experiences affected you so deeply, what they changed in you, and what you are still carrying. Something that once felt like a wound may now reveal a boundary you needed to learn, while something you considered a failure may look different through everything you have learned since then. You are not the same person who lived through those experiences, and that alone can change their meaning. Healing becomes less about pretending the past never hurt, and more about reclaiming your authority over what happens next. Resentment, fear, or anger can remain active long after the original situation has changed, especially when part of you believes that holding on to the emotion protects you. But carrying pain forever is not the same as honoring what happened. You can remember what taught you something without allowing it to dictate every future relationship, decision, or expectation. Imagine placing an old burden beside a deep body of water and realizing you do not have to carry it across every bridge ahead. Release does not require forgiveness on demand, reconciliation, or pretending harmful experiences were acceptable. It simply means deciding that the past will no longer have unlimited authority over your attention and choices. August 19 and 20 can become a reflective threshold, giving you space to ask what you are ready to understand differently, so your energy can return to the life in front of you. As you move through this period, Consider what may be interfering with the love, financial independence, professional direction, or personal growth you genuinely want. Instead of asking only what you should attract, ask what you may need to stop feeding, defending, or controlling. What do you actually want when fear is removed from the conversation? Give yourself permission to imagine a life that feels honest, rather than merely impressive, familiar, or safe, because you already know how to survive inside it. This is where the message moves naturally into tarot, because the cards offer another symbolic language for exploring what is already happening within you. The first card appearing is the Ace of Pentacles, which can be understood not simply as a promise of money, but as an image of something new becoming tangible. It may represent a practical opening, project, skill, resource, or possibility that becomes meaningful through real attention and effort. The question is not only whether an opportunity appears, but whether you can recognize it without demanding certainty about its entire future. The Ace of Pentacles asks you to notice what can actually be built from the choices in front of you. A new possibility may begin quietly, without looking impressive or guaranteed, and its value may depend on the care you give it. For you, Scorpio, this is an important distinction. Depth does not always require intensity, and something meaningful does not have to arrive dramatically. Sometimes transformation becomes real when an internal decision finally takes practical form. The next card is the Seven of Wands, and its atmosphere is more defensive. You may recognize the feeling of protecting your position, your time, your priorities, or something you are rebuilding from outside pressure. Competition may exist, but the deeper question is whether you can remain loyal to what matters without becoming consumed by defending yourself. A boundary can be an act of self-respect without becoming a permanent battle. The Seven of Wands reminds you that not every challenge deserves your full emotional participation. You do not have to answer every opinion, explain every decision, or prove your worth to people who have already decided how they want to see you. Stay aware of where your energy goes and notice whether you are protecting something valuable or simply reacting because you feel threatened. There is strength in standing firm, but also in knowing when you no longer need to fight. Then comes the Star, bringing a softer quality into the reading. Rather than promising that everything will suddenly become perfect, the Star symbolizes the gradual return of hope after a period when hope may have felt difficult to access. It speaks to restoration, emotional honesty, and the possibility of trusting life again without forgetting what you have learned. If you've been moving through uncertainty, this card reminds you that healing can be quiet and still be real. The Star also reminds you that renewal does not require becoming the person you were before a difficult experience. You can emerge changed, more discerning, more compassionate toward yourself, and less willing to abandon your needs simply to keep something familiar intact. You may not know exactly where every path leads, but you can begin moving toward what feels more honest. Let hope become something you practice through small choices rather than something you wait to receive as proof. The next card is the Fool, and its invitation is different again. The Fool asks what might become possible if you stopped demanding a complete map before taking the first step. For someone who values depth and awareness, this can feel uncomfortable because understanding every variable may seem like the safest way forward. Yet some experiences reveal their meaning only after you enter them, and some growth requires enough trust to move without controlling every outcome. The Fool is not a command to act recklessly. It invites you to recognize the difference between thoughtful preparation and fear disguised as preparation. You can honor your instinct while still allowing yourself to discover something new, whether in your personal life, career, creativity, or the way you see yourself. There is uncertainty in beginning again, but also freedom in realizing that you do not have to know every chapter before choosing the next page. Finally, when the focus turns toward the heart, the Two of Cups appears. Its central theme is mutual recognition, emotional reciprocity, respect, and a connection where both people are willing to meet honestly. For you, this card asks whether intimacy is being built through shared vulnerability, or whether one person is doing most of the observing, protecting, pursuing, or accommodating. A healthy bond does not require either person to disappear inside the other. It allows both people to remain whole while creating something together. If you are already in a relationship, the Two of Cups can invite deeper emotional honesty and renewed awareness of what makes the connection reciprocal. If you are seeking love, let compatibility reveal itself through consistency rather than relying only on chemistry or immediate intensity. The most meaningful connection may not be the one that keeps you guessing. It may be the one where you feel safe enough to tell the truth, and the other person responds with the same willingness. Love can become part of your transformation when it supports authenticity rather than asking you to abandon yourself. With that emotional theme moving through the heart of the reading, bring your attention back to your health and overall well-being. August 19 and 20 may be a useful moment of reflection if you have been moving through physical or emotional strain, especially if your own condition has received less attention while you focused on everything else. Rather than treating this period as a prediction about your health, use it as an invitation to listen carefully to your body, respect persistent concerns, and seek appropriate professional support when something needs evaluation. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is stop postponing care you already know you need. Difficult periods can change the way you experience ordinary moments. A quiet morning, an honest conversation, a rested body, a walk outside, or enough emotional space to breathe can carry greater meaning after you have known what it feels like to lose your sense of ease. You do not need to wait until everything is perfect before appreciating what is already present. Gratitude can exist alongside uncertainty, healing alongside unfinished work, and hope without requiring you to deny what is being difficult. Pay attention to changes in your moods and energy. Emotional strain does not always come from one dramatic event. Sometimes it gathers through small frustrations, unresolved conversations, demanding responsibilities, disrupted rest, and feelings you keep telling yourself you will handle later. Eventually, those smaller experiences can become difficult to separate from everyday life. The more honestly you notice these patterns, the more clearly you can decide what deserves attention, what needs a boundary, and what may finally be ready to change. You have already moved through experiences that once seemed impossible to carry, and that history says something important about your resilience. But resilience does not mean endlessly enduring what hurts. It also means recognizing when endurance has done its work and a different response is needed. As August 19 and 20 unfold, let your strength become more discerning, your boundaries more intentional, and your understanding of yourself more honest. You may not need to control every part of what comes next. You may simply need to recognize what has changed within you and choose with greater clarity what deserves to move forward with you. As you move deeper into work and career, another layer of self-awareness begins to emerge. You may recognize the abilities that have carried you this far while becoming more honest about where you still have room to grow. That honesty is not weakness. It shows that you are becoming more intentional about where your energy, attention, and personal power are invested. Scorpio. Genuine growth begins when you stop trying to appear completely certain and start understanding what truly deserves your effort. Do not allow a workplace situation to repeatedly disturb your peace or quietly erode your sense of worth. Whether you work closely with others, lead from behind the scenes, or work independently, create an environment where ambition does not require you to abandon your emotional well-being. You deserve to recognize your own contribution without constantly measuring yourself against someone else's expectations. If you have been considering a promotion, salary negotiation, or a stronger conversation about your value, August 19 and 20 can be a useful window for becoming clear about what you want to communicate and why you believe you have earned the right to ask. Do not wait for everyone else to recognize your value before you recognize it yourself. Sometimes professional movement begins when you can name your strengths calmly and speak about your contribution without apology. If you are looking for new employment, remain observant rather than desperate for an answer. A useful conversation, unexpected information, new contact, or opportunity that initially seems ordinary may deserve a closer look. Ask for clarity when the direction feels uncertain, and give yourself permission to gather information before deciding. You do not need to reveal every intention immediately or force yourself into action simply because something looks promising. Scorpio, Your ability to observe beneath the surface becomes an advantage when you use it to understand rather than overthink. Trust your instincts, but also trust your capacity to learn what you do not yet know. Jupiter, traditionally associated with expansion, learning, and broader perspective, can serve here as a reminder to look beyond the limits of your current circumstances. What you have today does not define everything you can accomplish, especially when you continue developing your knowledge and allowing your perspective to evolve. Financially, the Ace of Pentacles returns as a symbol of something practical, beginning to take form: a project, resource, opportunity, or financial direction that becomes meaningful through thoughtful investment and consistent attention. The work you have already done may eventually become more visible in measurable results, but stay attentive to what you are actually agreeing to. Scorpio, financial growth is not only about gaining more, it is also about understanding what creates independence, what creates unnecessary dependence, and where fear may be influencing your decisions. The star adds a quieter sense of hope, suggesting that your long-term vision and practical actions can move into better alignment. If you have privately worried about your financial future, allow yourself to breathe, but let reassurance come through clearer choices rather than assumptions that everything will automatically work out. The Seven of Wands adds an important layer of discernment. Some opportunities may appear attractive while carrying competition, pressure, hidden expectations, or complications that are not immediately visible. This does not mean becoming suspicious of every person or possibility. It means remaining awake to what is actually being offered. Your ability to pause, observe, ask questions, and protect your priorities can become one of your strongest forms of professional and financial self-protection. When distractions appear, return to what genuinely matters. When competition appears, return to your preparation, and when an obstacle appears, ask whether it requires persistence, a new strategy, or the courage to walk away. Your instincts become most useful when they work alongside evidence and preparation rather than replacing them. If a genuine opportunity presents itself, do not analyze every possible outcome so intensely that you lose the ability to respond while the possibility is still open. If a new venture, investment idea, or professional direction comes into view, listen closely to your instincts while examining the practical details. You do not have to reject something because it is unfamiliar, but you also do not have to pursue it simply because it feels exciting. The Fool brings that distinction into focus. Courage is not the absence of caution, and taking a new path does not require abandoning your strategic thinking. Sometimes the brave choice is simply allowing yourself to investigate a possibility you once dismissed because you could not control where it might lead. This may ask you to step beyond familiar territory and consider a project, role, or direction you have not previously explored. Your Scorpio nature can bring intensity and focus to that process, but your strength comes from using those qualities consciously, rather than becoming consumed by the need to know the outcome in advance. You can move towards something new while still asking the questions that protect your future. The goal is not to control every variable, but to know which ones actually deserve your attention. Now, let us return to love, because the Two of Cups brings a deeply personal dimension to everything you've been exploring. This card can symbolize a connection becoming more reciprocal, where two people are not simply drawn toward each other, but increasingly willing to understand and meet one another honestly. If you were already sharing your life with someone, important conversations may become easier, emotional needs clearer, and some of the distance created by hesitation or self-protection may begin to soften. The deeper invitation is to allow trust, vulnerability, and mutual recognition to become part of the connection. The relationship may begin to feel like something deeper than attraction, as though the two of you are discovering a private language built from trust, shared values, emotional honesty, and the willingness to truly see one another. Whether this connection has existed for years or is only beginning to develop, August 19 and 20, 2026 can serve as a reflective window for noticing what kind of intimacy you are actually seeking. Scorpio, reconsider what love means when chemistry is no longer enough. Ask whether the person beside you respects your inner world, understands what matters to you, and can meet you emotionally without requiring you to hide the parts of yourself that feel most vulnerable. If your current relationship feels secure and nourishing, this energy can encourage greater honesty and deeper emotional trust. If you are single, you may notice that your standards are changing. Attraction and chemistry can still matter, but something with greater substance may now feel more important. You may want a connection where you can be known without constantly protecting yourself, rather than one built around uncertainty or emotional games. Pay attention to whether intensity is truly intimacy or simply something familiar that keeps you emotionally activated. Family life carries a similar theme through the Two of Cups, emphasizing understanding, mutual respect, emotional support, and the possibility of reconnecting where distance has developed. You may begin seeing certain family dynamics differently, especially where old misunderstandings have remained beneath the surface. The invitation is not to force reconciliation or pretend painful experiences never happened, but to recognize where honest conversation, forgiveness, or a healthier boundary could create more peace. The Ace of Pentacles adds a practical layer, suggesting that changes involving a home, shared resources, family responsibilities, or a practical opportunity may influence how security is experienced within your closest relationships. The Star brings another layer of healing, reminding you that emotional repair can happen gradually when resentment is no longer allowed to control the story. Sometimes people reconnect because everything has been explained, and sometimes because both sides become willing to approach the same history with softer eyes. You may also find value in creating a simple experience with the people you care about, stepping outside familiar routines and allowing new memories to form. The Fool can symbolize entering a different emotional space without needing to know exactly how everything will unfold. While the Seven of Wands reminds you that protecting your family does not require absorbing every outside conflict or carrying everyone else's burdens. Scorpio, your energy through August 19 and 20 may feel measured on the surface while something much deeper rearranges underneath. Your attention is becoming more selective, and you may feel increasingly aware of what deserves your trust, what drains you, and which parts of your life still reflect who you are now. Your determination remains one of your strengths, but there is a difference between staying committed to something meaningful and remaining attached simply because you have already invested so much of yourself in it. Sometimes the strongest move is recognizing when a pattern has taught you what it came to teach, and allowing yourself to respond differently. There are moments when stepping back becomes necessary. Rest does not mean surrender, and releasing control does not mean becoming powerless. When you remain mentally engaged with every problem, possibility, and emotional undercurrent, your nervous system can carry more weight than any single situation requires. Give yourself enough quiet to recognize what is yours to handle and what belongs to someone else, because discernment can protect your energy more effectively than constant vigilance. Your physical well-being deserves that same awareness. Be mindful of turning comfort into an automatic response to stress, and notice whether exhaustion, emotional pressure, or repetitive routines have begun influencing how you treat your body. Movement, rest, nourishing habits, and appropriate professional care can become ways of listening to yourself, rather than waiting until your body demands attention. Scorpio, your strength is not measured by how much discomfort you can tolerate in silence. Sometimes it is revealed by how honestly you respond when your body or emotions tell you something needs to change. For students, this message carries another powerful layer. Do not decide that something is beyond you simply because it feels difficult at the beginning. A limiting belief can become a locked door long before circumstances actually prevent you from walking through it. And Scorpio has a natural capacity for going deeper when curiosity and determination work together. You can accomplish more when you stop spending all your energy anticipating failure and begin directing that intensity toward learning, adapting, and understanding what the challenge is asking of you. Focus on what genuinely matters, Scorpio. When your attention becomes more intentional, distractions that once seemed powerful can begin losing their hold, allowing you to distinguish between something that deserves your energy and something that merely demands it. In terms of compatibility, August 19 and 20, 2026 can be used as a symbolic space to notice which connections encourage clarity, creativity, emotional honesty, and mutual growth. Sagittarius may bring perspective and openness, Aquarius can stimulate unconventional thinking and shared insight, while Leo may bring warmth, courage, and supportive strength through challenges. Scorpio, the deeper message here is about awareness, choice, resilience, and the courage to look beneath the surface before deciding what deserves a place in your future. Astrology and tarot offer symbols for reflection rather than commands, giving you another language for examining your relationships, priorities, emotional patterns, and personal direction. As you move through August 19 and 20, 2026, notice what feels more honest than before, what no longer requires the same amount of control, and what becomes possible when you respond from clarity rather than fear. Your depth is powerful, but its greatest value may be knowing when to protect it, when to share it, and when to allow a new version of your life to emerge from everything you have learned.